concern, and an assurance that he had the matter of the conditions of ladies in hand. Ha! After throwing herself into the field of pamphlet writing, public speaking, and the joining of a blue stocking league, the truth was Beatrice had grown to hate dukes. All dukes. Not just Blackheath, though he certainly deserved her particular attention with his arrogant dismissals. Yes, all dukes were the very devil because they represented the thing she loathed with all her passion, the upholding of laws that kept her so wholly without rights. Worse still, they so often upheld the trade which enslaved thousands in their territories in the West Indies. In her estimation, rights were for everyone. The world was full of injustice, and she couldn't stand idly by, sipping lemonade. In fact, she had even followed Barbara Wilberforce's advice and stopped taking sugar altogether, for, like Mrs. Wilberforce, she could not forget the cruelty with which it was made. Beatrice had a mission in this life, and that was to improve the fate of those trodden upon by the powerful, and dukes were always getting in the way, as far as she could tell. None of them did as they should, protest loudly and fully in Parliament that rights belonged to more than a few landed gentlemen. Luckily, she had enough money on her own that she could make some protestations, and she had a seemingly indulgent uncle. Even now her uncle sat beside Maggie, his arms folded lightly over his strong chest. He had his silvery, shaggy brows raised in mock alarm. "Beatrice," he warned gently, "you cannot have such an attitude in society." "That is precisely why it is not a society I want to sustain," Beatrice said, a bit surprised by her uncle's comment, for he'd never suggested she contain herself to society's edicts before. She smiled at him, hoping to better his mood. "You are on my side, are you not?" "Indeed I am, Beatrice," he assured, though he seemed a bit strained. "But there comes a time in every lady's life when she must take up the yoke of matrimony." "Yoke, indeed," she replied. "Do I look like an ox?" "No," her uncle said. "You look like a lady, and ladies must marry." "Do not must me. That is the most ridiculous drivel. I have the privilege of independence, and I shall not give a gentleman my property or my freedom," Beatrice retorted evenly. The truth was, she didn't hate marriage exactly. It was more that she'd seen how much unhappiness it caused, except in one case. Her parents' marriage. They had loved each other so fully, with such loyalty, respect, and affinity, she'd never, ever be able to settle for anything less. As she'd grown older and become more aware of the harsh realities in this world, she realized her parents had been a veritable miracle, and because of the way they had treated each other, she'd accept nothing but the miraculous for herself. A life of tolerance was one she could not, well, tolerate, and thankfully, unlike other young ladies, she did not have to. "We all must do things and accept our roles, Beatrice. It is the way of the world," her uncle pointed out. Such thinking, though she cared for her uncle, permitted the worst of things to continue unchallenged. She eyed him carefully. "Are you about to tell me that I need to make a marriage, uncle?" He was silent for a moment, and she felt a hint of dread. Could he? He'd always been incredibly supportive of the fact that she had no wish to marry, largely due to the fact that she had a private fortune from her parents, who had passed 10 years ago. Her uncle had been an indulgent guardian, and kind, and given her much education and support in her endeavours. She had always appreciated him as a man of good sense, but now, as he sat beside her cousin, with Maggie's arm tucked in his, pleased as Punch that his daughter was likely to marry the brother of a duke, Beatrice wondered. No, she would not contemplate it. "I, for one, am eager to marry," Maggie said, looking positively besotted. "I adore Kit. He is the most marvellous man in all of London." "This cannot possibly be true," she replied flatly. "There is no marvellous man, save Uncle here." She spotted the